It's just that the after, like how the police are acting now and, you know, that, like the location, but not the actual something that they want now.
Okay, there and there, and then there and there.
I feel that protests have been going on for a long time. I've been through like an immigration reform protest, and I feel like this would matter. We always get shut down either by the media, by the police, and they always, you know, more people follow the media, so they turn us into the bad guys. So I feel like if there's something else needed besides protesting, something bigger that needs to happen for us to be changed, because they're always going to attack us and make us look like the bad guys.
Yeah.
I think maybe sometimes people are just like caught up in their everyday life, and when they, like what Chris was saying, when people see that it's lack of effectiveness in the protest, and plus, you know, they have, some kids have jobs, you know, some kids have to go take care of their little siblings because their parents are working late. You know, it depends on people are just caught up in, you know, their life, and they have stuff to do.
I mean, but like, there's always a difference. Like senior district, it's like the last week of school, and like I don't think necessarily like parents will care because like if they're not, seniors don't really do much anyway the last week of school. And but it's different when it's like in the middle of the year, like the October 22nd one. Like I'm not a senior, but just like if I went to Oakland and I was like, I'm gonna go to Oakland, I'm gonna protest on my birthday too, so that would have been kind of. My mom would have been like, what do you know?
Oh, your birthday's October
Yeah.
22nd.
It's October 22nd. And like the thing about,
Great day to protest, your birthday.
yeah. And the thing about having it like hit so close to home, it's not the fact that like I actually, like, I think it can hit close, it can hit anybody. Like I didn't expect my brother to get shot 4 times in the back by some random guy a month ago, and then have the cops blame him thinking it was his fault, but it was the guy's fault. And you know, you just never think of, you never know who it's going to happen to. It can happen to your best friend, your parent, just any time. And it's like, I think that's the thing that people don't really realize, is that they think like, oh, you know, I look fine, you know, I'll go out and do my own thing, blah, blah, blah. But then it's just like one incident in 1 second can change your life, and you don't think about it.
What's the situation with your brother?
That situation's kind of family, can't really talk about it.
But is he all right?
He
Is
actually is
recovered?
fully healed, yeah.
Oh, wow.
He got shot, he didn't get paralyzed, he made it out, like, a miracle.
You were gonna say?
Like, can I answer Ben's question for that? Is maybe it's like a subconscious thing, like you don't really want to go, but you feel like you do kind of want to go, but the fear of like being pepper sprayed or attacked by police officers, so you sort of hoping your parents came out.
Right.
Like a second thought.
Well, I think it would be good for us to, as you say, pull the lens back about why have we been doing this, because otherwise all of the reasons that people are raising, you know, yeah, they do take on more, they become more primary or more overriding, you know. And in other words, you know, I went to Ferguson, I told you all that in the fall, you know, after the murder of Michael Brown, and I likened what happened there to like a volcano. You know, when a volcano happens, stress has been building up, you know. We're talking, you know, in other words, the response of the people all over the country would not have been so strong. Really, like tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people went out and protested, and it forced millions of people to kind of see that this problem of police brutality and harassment, brutality and murder, especially in oppressed communities, inner city communities, Black and Latino neighborhoods, is huge. You know, and in other words, people wouldn't have risen up like that around the country if it wasn't a big problem, you know. But it's like the cone of the volcano, or the height of it erupted in Ferguson, and then it wasn't only the murders by the police Michael Brown and Ferguson and Eric Garner, the large black man was killed by a police chokehold in New York City. But the fact that a lot of people said after Michael Brown, but there wasn't a video, and then Obama said, we're gonna put body cameras on the cops, and then the next day, the grand jury in New York City says they're letting the cops go that murdered Eric Garner with a chokehold, and all that was on video. So it's like videos don't do a damn bit of good, So that's why people did, pour out into the streets and block bridges and block freeways. They feel like we felt like we got to do something extremely dramatic and bold, to shut down the business as usual of society, And I think the things that people are saying about, your parents discouraging you or telling you not to do that, I agree with, I didn't always do everything my parents told me. I'm not telling anybody here to do anything, but I'm telling you, I didn't always do what my parents, and sometimes it was bullshit things I was doing, and other times it was stuff that was meaningful. And sometimes you have to be more large-minded and say, well, you may not agree with me now, but I hope you will in the future. Or if you, how many people here saw that movie Selma? You saw that, yeah? Because there's a thing in there of like, you gotta go against society's norms, and the concerns and the worries, It's good that your parents worry about you, it shows that they love you, But on the other hand, some of our parents have been conditioned to accept some shit and to coexist with some stuff we shouldn't be coexisting with. Like, we were talking in the last class about mass incarceration in this country. How many people saw that movie 12 Years a Slave? It's like back then, too many people thought slavery was normal. And I'm sorry, even a lot of the black people, as much as they hated it, got drawn down into thinking this is just our lot, from the whippings, from the just being beat down mentally. It wasn't just being beat down physically, all of that, And so too many people now just think, well, black people are criminals, those immigrants are criminals, or they're, people are just drawn in instead of thinking that the system is criminal, for casting off whole sections of society. And people are justifying and rationalizing this shit, or just thinking, well, how can I lock my door, put 12 locks on my door at night so I can be safe, This has got to stop, this has got to change. That's why people rose up in the fall. And in response to your question about, but does protest do any good? See, I think, check it, and somebody said the media, right? The media was telling you. Think about this. This is the very system that tells you, that most of the time tries to tell you, oh, nobody gives a damn, right? And then when people do rise up and show that they do give a damn, then the system says, well, nothing's changed, They have a real vested interest in making us think that this is permanent, whatever the way things are, so that we'll accept the injustice. And instead, I think we should see that something unprecedented happen in the fall. Hundreds of thousands of people go out and block freeways, block bridges, shut down their schools, do die-ins in shopping malls. Somebody mentioned, I was down there at the Christmas tree lighting in downtown San Francisco when we were saying Black Lives Matter. We're holding up these giant neon cards, with each letter spelled out, a letter of Black Lives Matter. First place, you have to ask yourself, why do we live in a society where we even have to say that? Why? How far are things gone? Where there's a whole section of society of black people where you have to say their lives matter because we live in a society that says they don't. And so we said, let's take it down there to the Christmas tree light. That was exactly the place to be. You have to jolt people out of complacency. you know? But yeah, then the system wants to say nothing's changed. Yeah, the cops are still murdering people. But something new is out there. This unity of the people across society is something that is really important. People challenging this and saying we refuse to live this way. And in my own view, ultimately, it's gonna take a revolution to wipe away the whole system of capitalism and imperialism that has no future for millions of the youth in the inner cities. That has no future for immigrants, you know? Here you have, that's what happened to this young man I was telling you about. His name was Antonio Zambrano Montes, that was murdered up in Pasco, Washington. You know, if you're an immigrant, agricultural work, you come here, it's like, just shut up and work in that field, you know, and get super exploited, you know. People told us about their lives up there. And then the police shoot you down like a dog, you know. This is what people rose up against. I don't know, I'm going on too long.
Maybe, you know, one of the things, Michael, you were raising last class that was, people, I think is worth talking about is how the prison, you talked about how the prison itself sort of got people thinking like down, like against each other, that kind of thing, versus seeing some of these things.
Because your prisons are your population is black and Hispanic. That's your largest population in prison. So that gives you an idea of the people that they want to, you know, the people that they incarcerate in California and the United States. And they keep us apart from each other. They create wars where we fight each other in prison and murder each other because the fights end up in people dying. And it's happening more or less down south where you have a lot more Latinos than you do up here, but it also happens up here too. And they keep us divided because if we're divided, we're not concentrating and thinking about them. And the system creates this type of atmosphere in prison. And so what they're trying to, the people that they're murdering out here on the street is black and Latino. And what you said, protests do help, because in the 60s, a lot of laws and everything changed because of protests. And it took a while, it took a lot of people going to jail, it took a lot of people dying. Down south, they was murdering people to go down south to protest the way they was treating black people in this country. And a lot of you heard of the Ku Klux Klan, they were murdering people, they were murdering white people that went down south to protest. So protests do help, but it took a long time for them to change and to focus on, say, hey, the whole country was up, you know, was protesting. The big protest that they had in Washington, D.C., there was so many people there, it shocked, you know, shocked the United States. They had to, they was forced to change these laws and stop doing what they was doing. The same thing has to happen now. The more we protest and the more people get involved, they see that we can no longer continue to do this, because you're the people that's going to be voting one day. You're the people that's going to be putting people into office. And you want to put the right people in office in the way, and you have to, and if they don't, then, you know, change the way things are now, then you don't have a future, because you're either going to be in jail, you're not going to have a job, or you know, things are going to be bad for you. So what you're doing now is for your future, for the kids' future, for your kids' future, because you don't want kids to be scared to go outside and play. And go out, you know, you can't even get, like when I was telling the other class, when I was growing up, we used to have like cap guns, you know, go outside and play with cap guns. You can't do that today, because you're scared of police. See your kid out there with a gun or something, a cap gun, and come up and shoot him. So things has changed in this country to where
you can't live under that fear of going out and knowing that a police officer could shoot you, you know, for something simple, or stop you on the street and harass you for something simple, where you shouldn't, you know. You have a right to go from point A to point B without being harassed, especially if you're not doing anything wrong, and that happens.
Let's open up some questions you guys have for either of these two.
No questions?
Yeah.
Beg your pardon? Well, prison's somewhat like society in a way, but in a different form. You know, you do the same thing in prison as you do out in society. You work, people have jobs, the ones that want to work, the ones that don't want to do anything. You have your people that sit there addicted to drugs. They bring drugs in there so you stay addicted from the time that you get to prison and from the time that you get out of prison. So you'll come back to prison. And you can, people, the ones that sit there, the ones that say like they didn't graduate from high school, they do have opportunity to get a GED. But when they get out, there's no jobs for them because they're convicted felons. They don't have any trades. They don't teach viable trades in there for you to get out and get a job like computer tech or anything like that. They have auto shops, but the auto industry has changed so much. You have to. It's a whole different process of just working on a car the way we used to. You have to have a computer in order to do that. They don't teach you that, so it's not a good place. It's not a good place. And once you get in the system, you stay in the system until you figure out a way how to get out of it, to change your life and change the way you think. So you want to.
Got a question.
Yeah.
It's like a curious question. Like around the time of like let's say your last month of incarceration, and like you knew you were gonna get out soon, what were your thoughts and like feelings?
Well, for one thing, I didn't know exactly if I was going to get out. I got found suitable, but the way the system was, the system denied a lot of people their parole for a long, long time. Like they might find you suitable for parole, but you knew that you probably wouldn't be getting out because they wasn't letting you out. We had different governors that weren't letting certain people out of prison. But that changed when Governor Brown came in. He started letting people out because, like I was in for 25 years. I know people that was in for 30 years, 32 years, 35 years in prison. They go to prison when they're young and they stay in there for some 30-some years. Now they're starting to get out. But my thoughts were, I was glad to get out, and I had an idea of what I wanted to do when I got out, and because I'm prepared for that, I changed from the person that I was. I had to change from the person that I was when I first went to prison. I had to change the way I think. I had to change. I had to look at my anger, what got me into prison. I had to look at why I did the things that I did. A lot of it's psychological. Childhood has a lot to do with the way you do things in life. And false belief systems. I had to look into all of that. But it's a different world out here than the world I left because I went to prison in '87. I got out in 2013. So I love it. It's good to be free. And but it's a lot of things that I see that I have to do now that I'm out of prison. I have to give back. And giving back is telling you and explaining to y'all about how the system is something that you don't want to get into, and what you have to do in order to change things. Because like when in the '60s, I protest. We march. We protest because especially, I'm black, and the way they was treating us in the sixties. Couldn't vote, couldn't buy houses and things like that. All those changes came apart by people protesting and not sitting down and letting it happen to them. Because if you sit down and let things happen to you, they're gonna continue and get worse. And we are the majority, we are the majority. We run this country, but we have to stand up and let them know that we run this country. And the people that you put in the office, you know. You wanna put the right people there, the people that's gonna work for you, so you be able to go to college, be able to get the right kind of jobs you want to raise a family and have a decent way of life. But it's a struggle. It's a struggle now. I mean, things don't come easy all the time. You know, things still don't fall into your lap, your freedom and everything. And you have to fight against things that's oppressive in life. But that's my mission in life, and that's what, you know. I'm going to school I'm taking up art, because I paint and I draw, and I learned to draw while I was in prison, and paint, I also do pottery. For the first year that I learned pottery, it was fascinating, you know, to make a vase, and I also do sculpture with clay. I did that when I was in high school. But out of 700 people, I had an honorable mention of, I came in first and third place out of 700 people in prison with my pottery. So, you know, and that's what I'm going to school now for, my major in art. So.
Do you know someone who has trouble getting a job because they're, because of their felonies and stuff like that?
I have ran into, youngsters out here that said that they can't find a job because they have a record, but they haven't, I think the one I talked to, he was in prison, but like, I think it was an excuse. Because you can get a job if you want. There's a lot of jobs out here that you can't get. It might not be the job that you want, it might not pay enough money, you know, but because you have different companies that gives an incentive when they hire people as felons. When they hire felons, they get I forget exactly what it was, but they get representatives from the government or from the state for hiring these people. And they have different programs that this hiring program. Like in Alameda County, they at the college, at Alameda College, they have different trades even that they're teaching. Like forklift driving, you have to have certificates in that now. They teach in welding and auto mechanics, nursing, and we call them for clothes. We use
Tailoring?
Yeah, tailoring. They teach trades other than curriculum classes that you can learn to trade. You don't want, go for an AA or BA in college, which is good. And those are opportunities. Like I'm in a program called Open Gate, and that's our major concern. The guys that's getting out of prison, we introduce them to the college and to the trades that they have. So, a friend of mine that I did know in prison, he got out. He's been out about maybe 3 months now. And when he first got out, they go to get a part-time job, and like his housing is paid for, so like he really didn't have to worry about his housing. So I said, you ought to go to college and learn this forklift driving, because a lot of warehouses are hiring people for those type of jobs when they're good jobs. The pay is a future. So that's what he did. I took him out to the college and he started school the next day. And so they can't get jobs. There's opportunity.
Yeah.
you were talking about, the protests in the sixties and stuff, and, I know that back then, there were, not all peaceful protests, there were also, riots, things like that. Do you think that it, just continued and, it kept on showing us out, that it would lead to, more physical protests where we got into contact with police officers?
Where people will be getting hurt more? People,
Not just, I mean, during protests, like, would it turn into like riots and things like that? Would that make any difference? Because, what I've always thought about is that if something like that would have happened, it would be kind of giving the media exactly what they want, so they're gonna.
okay, the media, you have to look at what the media is there for, and who controls the media. You know, the people that's suppressing you are the same people that's controlling the media.
Right.
Because the media puts out what they want them to put out, not what actually is going on.
Yeah.
Because just like you said, it turns you into the bad guy. You know, and you're out there fighting for your rights, but you're the bad guy. You know, I mean, people see through that. You know, that's propaganda. That's propaganda. You know, trying to make you look bad. And all the time they are you know.
Or what can we do to change that? If,
Well, you probably can't change what the media puts out there, but you know better. You know better, and the people see through that. You know, people see just like you see through it. People see through that, so you know, they know better. It's not really that effective because you know it's not the truth.
Yeah.
Also, also, I don't think that media has a free hand to do, yeah, mainly there's high stakes, you know, they wanna, look, they lie to people about everything important in the world, you know, everything, you know. I mean, how many people know about this movie American Sniper, you know? Some people saw it? I haven't seen it yet, but I know enough about it to say it's fucked up, you know. It's glorifying, you know, the U.S. military and the wars for empire, and you know, they go over and slaughter people all over the world. They won't talk about ISIS beheading people. ISIS or Bin Laden couldn't hold a candle to what our own government has done in terms of slaughtering people all over the Middle East, you know, but they use drones, you know. They don't use a sword, they use drones, or they use jet fighters, or they use occupying armies and stuff, and all that's supposed to be legit, you know. So then they put out this movie, this guy killed what, some 160 people and stuff, and you're supposed to empathize, and they turn him into a monster and stuff, and all the you know, the mindless patriotism and stuff, you know, it's sickening, you know. But again, they lie to people about everything important, you know. And I just think that people can learn to see through the lies, number one. Number two, people develop ways to communicate with each other to get the social media or whatever, to try to, you know, get around that. And, you know, using Instagram, and I'm gonna pass this around, by the way, while I'm talking, before we get later in the period. There's a sign-up sheet for people to be involved, and put down your Instagram, put down your email, however you wanna, you know, be involved, because we don't have to be, you know. And then the other thing is, the truth breaks through. I mean, look, when the protests happened in the fall, we were in Ferguson, and this was in August, and we would go out and protest, and at night we came home, we saw ourselves on the news. It was kind of wild, you know, because it was like Iraq and Ferguson were dominating the national news for 2 weeks, you know. And that kind of emboldened people in Ferguson. They said, wow, we're making history. You know, they can't cover it up. Even though CNN and all them had their newscasters out there, you know, talking a lot of distortion, a lot of slanders, and twisting up what we were about. And we were trying to find the ways to counter that. And then I also think that some of the truth, like I watched the Grammys, the Grammy Music Awards, and there were like 5 different references to Ferguson. You know, Prince said something. Prince said, what did he say? He said, albums, like books, like Black Lives, still matter, you know? And then, help me out, there were like 3 or 4 other references, including when Common and John Legend played the song Glory from the movie Selma. At the very end, they had the big eyes of Eric Garner that the graffiti or the artist J.R. had done, you know, for the protests in New York where they're marching with these big posters of Eric Garner's eyes, you know. So these things are breaking through in the superstructure of society, you know, up here in the media. They can't suppress everything. And so we have to fight on that front as well, you know. And, you know, I hope we have to, this is what we're talking about doing in the spring, is on a even more ambitious level, you know, shutting down the business as usual. There's this whole thing of just it being normal that the police are murdering people and people accepting that, you know, and it needs to break through in the media, you know. But again, I don't think we can judge everything, but if they have to slander it, if they have to try to distort what it's about, well, then that kind of shows where they're coming from, you know.
Make sure that what we're doing is working.
Yeah, yeah, it's a whole different way of coming at it and stuff. And I know a lot of people get thrown off and stuff about whatever, the violence. Look, I don't think small businesses, people getting their businesses burned up, I don't think the small business people are the enemy. You know, they're not like Walmart or the big capitalist corporations and stuff. And so, you know, when we're out in the protests, we try to discourage people from doing that. But there's also people out there that feel like they're just so frustrated, this is the only way they feel that they can be heard, you know. So some of it is coming from that, you know. So I'm not agreeing with it, but you have to understand, like, why. But the main thing is that the protests need to be bigger and continue. Otherwise, they want to go back to the business as usual, like this young black kid, Tamir Rice in Ohio, who had, like Michael was talking about, had a toy gun, playing cop. He was on the playground, playing, you know, cops and robbers, or playing cowboys and Indians, whatever. And the police roll up and they murder him within you can see it, Tamir Rice, Google it, put it on YouTube. It's on YouTube, you know. There's ways to try to get around the way they want to censor what we're doing.
Can you imagine a protest that shuts down everything in the United States for one day, what they would think, you know? That would really make a great impact on the problem, and really people would think, you know, if something like that happened, it would, like I said, it would be a great impact, and it would help. It would help if everybody participated in that one day.
Can you guys talk about more about the April 14th?
Well, what we're talking, you want to say? What we're talking about is thousands of schools, colleges, high schools, tens of thousands, all across the country. But it takes preparation, you know. And look, in this room, we're not just asking y'all to show up. We're asking y'all to be part of organizing to make this happen. See, that's different. It ain't just about, oh, I'm going to show up that day. No. If you want it to be societal, otherwise it'd be like we're selling wolf tickets, you know. If everyone here doesn't think about the ways to be creative, to get the word out, to spread the word about the stakes, you know. You know, in a lot of ways, y'all are really fortunate to have a teacher like Ben, you know, that is encouraging for people to think about all this instead of just telling you to put your nose down and, you know, just try to get ahead in this society. But to think about how society is set up, and is it just? And can it be different? You know? What is the responsibility that comes with that? You got to go talk to all the people you hang out with after school, with each other for sure, but all the other people that you know and maybe don't hear this. You know what I mean? They got to hear it from you. And they have to see where you all can make a difference. That's what got started in the fall and the winter with the outpourings, is that the students, the young people were seeing, look, you know, we don't have to live this way. You know, we can be a force. And the system, it's like a genie. They're trying to put the genie back in the bottle, you know, by saying that the protests are the cause of those 2 cops that got murdered in New York. They try to blame that on the protests. Or now they're trying to change the law in New York where resisting arrest for some of the people in the protest becomes a felony. You know, they're doing things that if any other government did them around the world, they go, look at that regime and how hideous it treats its people. You know, and yet they're doing the same thing, you know, but they're legit. I don't think so. So, but we gotta get, April 14th means we gotta get started now. The word's gotta get out. People should be writing poems about it, doing, anytime you see an incident of police brutality, go stand with the family members who lost their loved ones. Go to the protest about it. You know, make your own sign, you know. Get started now, you know, building momentum for this, you know, put it up, put poems or put Instagrams up or put, you know, whatever you want to do, songs about it, you know, get started now, you know. And we're sending around the contact list for people to sign up on. If you want to get our emails, you want to get our Instagrams, you want to be part of that, you want to get text messages, you know. Because this has got to be so much bigger.
And I just realized maybe people were doing this before the break, but I'll open up my room again on Monday, or actually I can't on Monday, but on Tuesday at lunch for people who want to start thinking about some of this. I'll put that on the board.
There's a whole other dimension to this we didn't even talk about. It says this is the call for April 14th, and it says, a whole hidden part. It says on the back, the business as usual police killing our people never being punished is a concentration of an overall program of mass incarceration and all its consequences that had tens of millions of people living their lives caught up in the criminal injustice system of this country. A hidden part of this program is the demonization, criminalization, deportation, and murder of immigrants. This must stop. And I don't know, you know, like right now on the Texas border, there's all these detention centers that are opening up for people that are fleeing starvation, and the worst homicide rates in the world are in Central America now. Like 4 countries here, El Salvador, Guatemala, Honduras, and Nicaragua, you know. And those are regimes that the U.S. backs up, you know. They have all these financial interests there, all these factories and stuff that make, they call them sweatshops, where the people are like super, so then people, and the gangs and all that come and extorting the people. So then people make this perilous journey on the beast, right, on the train, you know, coming from Central America through Mexico, and then they get to the U.S. and they end up in these detention centers. And they're being deported, you know, there's children there. You know, do we care about this? What are we gonna do about it? You know? This is a chance to do something about it. Y'all know what I'm talking about? How many of you here, your own lives have been touched by this? Family members have gone through it. I don't know. I mean, so like when your parents ask you, well, why are you going out there? Why are you risking that? Is it that foreign to them? You know? I don't think so, right? Yeah, you want to say?
I think it's mostly that parents are scared for us to, because for the people who have like all that kind of stuff, that they don't want that to happen again. And if like you do go out there, that they're scared it's gonna be like repeat and it's just gonna keep happening to the family. But I think that parents like, I guess they just don't want to take that chance of losing another family member or having someone get hurt or end up in jail again or any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
We should keep a discussion going informally, but I want to make sure people have a chance I would like you to share your thinking with me and with our presenters so they could get a better sense of what y'all were thinking about, those of you who didn't get to speak. So on the paper that you have, this is just sort of a free response. Any things that you maybe felt you didn't have a chance to ask, or you were too shy to, or or different questions or challenges, or where's your thinking at? They just posed a challenge to you. I really actually, I wanted to, you know, what Brian said was sort of what I was getting at with the parent. You know, it's sort of like my sense is that there's some deeper questions people have. Does this matter? Is it going to work? And then the parents sort of, you know, become like, oh, well, okay, maybe I don't have to like get to those questions, right? And so I don't think the question is not parents or not parents, do I listen to my parents? You know, the question is, what are those other things? What are those questions that are holding people back or people still have? Those should be worked through. You have to work through those yourselves, and we have some great resources to help with that. You don't usually, it's not often you get the experience of, you know, someone who's been incarcerated and thinking in these ways, and someone who's been on the front lines and thinking in these ways. So, you know, it's kind of a different atmosphere for us to walk through. But take the last 7 minutes. I'd like to see some of your thinking on paper. These guys are going to stay here. You could, if you wanted to get signed up and you didn't have a chance to, make sure you do that. But we'll just kind of go more informal from this point. Let's give a round for our. Just free response. What struck you? What, you know? Did any of your thinking change? Stay the same? What did you appreciate? What did you maybe want to say but you felt uncomfortable saying? Yeah, you're gonna turn these in on your way out.